What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical. I mean, it's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock on the East Coast, 3 o'clock on the West Coast, 5 o'clock Tennessee time. Of course, it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It is called Grinderslive. Joining me today, it's my good friend who just got a fresh cut, I think, or he's just not wearing a hat. Grant, what's going on with the what's up with the lettuce there?
It's man bun season.
Oh no, it's never man bun season. It really isn't.
Oh, it most certainly is.
Now, why did you want a class to show up? Why did you not wear it down?
What do you mean wear it down?
You could let it loose, man. Let the man bun go. Well, okay, I guess it's no longer a bun then, right? Okay, I see how that works. Fair enough. How do you decipher, like, we're going bun or no bun? Like, what's the deliberation process like, Grant?
If I need to do anything where I don't want tons of hair in my face.
And do you find a lady friend prefers one way over the other?
Women do not prefer the man bun.
Shocking. If you learned anything today, non-DFS related. I think that's the chalk. That's kind of sort of what I figured. So you're just doing it just because it's just comfortable, I suppose. You don't really care. You're not one that really cares if people think you. I don't think.
No, I can do whatever I want.
You're an adult.
I am an adult.
We're talking basketball, daily fantasy sports, obviously. We don't care.
No, we're just talking man buns. An hour of man buns.
This is just the appetizer for you, Grant, because you're working back to back. You're working premium later on. After this show, you're filling in for one Kevin Roth along with Andy Means. I believe Tuttle as well too. Talking tonight's slate. We're going to break it down in just a second. 7 gamers. Of course, that's the reason why we're starting out late is because the slate starts at 7:30 tonight. And I would argue, kind of, sort of, maybe, somewhat. I love this, Grant. You know I love this. There's one game at 7:30, and I don't love it. There's some good players in that game. We'll talk
full
about
on fade.
Is that where you're at too? Oh man, I don't like when you're in full agreement in this. I was hoping you would go the other way on it, but yeah, Utah plays against Boston. We'll talk about the game specifically, but it's a weird slate where there's a lot of quote unquote value plays that are popping and some names that you may have just learned of about a week ago or so. And there's no stars. Well, not no stars, a very few stars. We want to go star scrubs and it's super, super easy, but the stars aren't great. There's no Jokic, there's no Giannis, there's no Durant, there's no Harden. Just kind of sort of run up. There's no Westbrook, there's no Beal. You run them all off. We have Lillard, but CJ McCollum is back. We have Jimmy Butler, but Bam Adebayo is back. And we have LeBron on the back half of a back-to-back. We'll go through the body parts in a second, but that's sort of my general synopsis as far as the slate is that the value plays are good. The stars aren't great, but I can get them. So, might as well get them. What's your general thoughts?
I mean, I still like Butler. I still really like Butler at this price tag. I mean, Bam's coming back, but even when Bam was in the lineup, there was a lot of games where Butler's just getting a triple-double to match it versus Cleveland's not a terrible matchup. Butler still has a pretty darn high ceiling, and LeBron is 700 cheaper. He's been not putting out great outings at all. Recently, he's been over 60 once in the last 7 games. He's just not doing a ton. He's playing good. He's not playing great. He's not playing like we would expect LeBron to play. Without
he was too good last night. They just blew the game out. It wasn't his fault. He triple-doubled, but he missed the last, 7 or 8 minutes or so or something like that because the game got ugly. And, of course, tonight they faced Minnesota, and again, that could happen once again. But and there's no Davis, and we know about his usage when Davis takes a seat. He's already been ruled in, and he's thought there was some concern in my brain, what if he doesn't play tonight? Last night was the ESPN game, tonight back-to-back, but it seems like he's going to play. It seems like that's a non-issue. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I do want to throw out the rest of the body parts as far as who's in and who's out. And
surprise!
Well, what just happened?
That you want to throw out the rest of the body parts.
Well, that's the whole point of.
No, that's your point. You're the only one that cares.
Well, actually, no. We'll talk about it.
You're like a waiter going to a table and be like, "Hello, have you been here before with us?" Yes, I've been here many times. Okay, let me read you the entire menu.
I was a waiter years ago, and I once got fired. You ready for it? I got fired for being too sassy.
No, I'm surprised. You are a sassy person, as I know.
I give you 50 adjectives to describe me, and you know me fairly well. I don't think you get the sassy. You don't get the sassy, do you?
If I had 50, I don't think I know 48 adjectives, and sassy's one of them. So
get a thesaurus. So Tristan
Thompson,
it should be. Is there another way of saying that easier? So Tristan Thompson's not playing basketball tonight. He's out for COVID protocol reasons. Yeah, that's the first game, which I guess it's kind of sort of somewhat interesting, but Time Lord's been priced up. So he's been playing well. And, he's interesting, I guess, but he's not cheap. at least the way he's been, throughout the season. Clint Capella, this is worth monitoring. He's got a heel, so he's questionable. And also Akungwa, the other big, he's got an adductor, so he's also questionable, which if those guys both don't go.
Abductor or adductor?
I think it's adductor. I think it's ADD. Is it not?
Yeah, well, there's abductor, abductor, and adductor.
I have not played Operation in a while. I'm not really sure which body part this is. By the way, as a kid, did you cheat? Be honest. When you played Operation, you took the batteries out and got the funny bone, right? You did this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I redid that. So Capella and Akungwa are both currently questionable. Houston is an absolute mess. Wall is still out. Wood is doubtful. This is the front end of a back-to-back for them as well. Eric Gordon's got a groin, so he can't play for a while. David Nwaba is out with his wrists. Like, he was playing through the pain for a couple of games, and now he's like, screw this. They have some more bodies, in theory, to coming back. Daniel House and both Ben McLemore are questionable with a knee and an ankle, respectively. Speaking of knees, Joel Embiid's out for a while with his. Bam Adebayo expected back tonight. We talked about that already as far as Jimmy. He's $11K on FanDuel. Like, that's really, really steep. DK, a little bit easier to swallow, but it's also much easier to make things work on FanDuel because the cheapies, the pricing is pretty egregious. Adebayo is probable. CJ McCollum expected back tonight for Portland with his foot. Al Horford is out for rest. I don't think they play tomorrow. I'm pretty sure. I don't know why he's resting, but good for him. He might get traded. Darius Baisley's out with a shoulder. Lou Dort's got a toe, so he's questionable. And Svi Micajla, who they traded for, is at least available tonight. Who knows how much run he may or may not get. New York on the back-to-back second half. Austin Rivers still out. Rose still out. Elf Payton doubtful officially with his hamstring. Kevin Love came back for a game. He's doubtful again with his calf. Kareem Prince is still out with his shoulder, and Garrett Temple is out with an ankle. And as far as the back-to-back stuff, the back end of a back-to-back, Lakers, Knicks, front end, Boston, Cleveland, Miami, Chicago, Houston. We're going to bring SBK on in a few minutes from our projection team here at RG, and going to speak to – I'm going to hold off on Houston and OKC. We'll kind of wait. We'll put that conversation on pause.
You might just want to talk like an auctioneer.
What do you mean?
I mean, talk quick with Houston.
Oh, yeah. That's a tricky job.
How's that? McLemore out, Wood out, Exum out, Gordon out, Crooks out, Nwaba out, Tucker out, Wall out. Boom. Yep.
They salted the lockers on that. I don't want to ruin it for you, but spoiler alert, that show was fake. Yeah, they didn't.
Don't care. It's still delightful.
No, but it's the whole thing. The whole thing is based on honesty. This is what we genuinely find here. But
if you expect any reality TV to be fully real,
fully real, it's in no way real. And the problem is, people watch that show and said, "Honey, I'm quitting my job. I'm leaving the bank. I'm going to start scouting lockers," and now they're broke because it wasn't like how it went on TV.
People don't seem to have a problem with Vegas Dave.
I think people do, but I feel like he's like.
I look at his Instagram and it's nothing but positive comments.
Yeah, well, I mean, how do you think that works? By the way, you follow Vegas Dave's Instagram? Is that something?
No. I looked on it once because obviously on Twitter, all the comments are very negative.
Yeah.
And then you look at Instagram and I'm like,
how does he do it? How does he do it?
I mean, my guess is bots.
But who actually might have some good gambling advice for you is Scores and Odds Premium here at Rotogrinders.com. How about that for a segue? You get for 5 days, SAO Premium for $5. Offers available through March 22nd. That includes all the March Madness goodness, NBA, MMA, PGA, NHL. I know Andy puts picks in there. I know Notorious puts picks in there for golf. I'm not sure if you partake. It'd be awkward if you didn't. If you want to say you do, that's great. Do you partake? I don't know if you do. Yes, maybe, possibly. Grant? Oh, Grant froze on us. How about that? Trying to get the promo in, and it did not work. I'm not really sure. Hopefully,
enough I can hear everything. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you now. I was just doing a Scores and Odds Premium. I'm not really sure if you partake or if you give any picks over there. You may or may not. Yes, possibly, maybe, or no. We lost Grant again. Put the man bun back in. Maybe that'll work.
All right, my internet might be back. No, I'm here.
All right.
That's definitely it. That's definitely it. Putting the man bun back in and all things will be saved. Yes, I do some work over on Scores and Odds. I think I went 2-1 yesterday. But
okay.
Shout out to Noto getting me on Justin Thomas, 20-1 Vegas this weekend. Noto knows what he's doing.
Yeah, Notorious is really, really good at golf. And actually, this is a good time to mention, hey, the premium golf show is now going to be on Tuesday nights, and it's going to be free. And I know Noto does at least one of those golf shows. Devin's in my ear, and he can tell me, he can confirm. Is Notorious on that premium golf show? He is, yeah. I know Cards is on some of them. I know Tambo is on some of them as well. And hey, if you want to get Rotogrinders Premium, how do you go about doing that? Well, you get $10 off your first month. You can do it a la carte, just one sport. But hey, if you want to play golf, you want to play basketball, want to baseball, it's around the corner. Now I'm talking like an auction. I'm talking fast. Get $10 off the first month a la carte, just one sport. You can get all the sports, $10 off either way. Link is in chat for you guys. All right, Grant, I was buying some time. Hopefully your internet may or may not be back. I'm not looking at you, so I assume you're there. Are you still
I'm here.
All right. Is the man bun in or out? That's important.
I put the man bun in, no problems.
That is the key to the slate. All right, we're going to bring SBK on from our projection team in about 5 minutes or so, talk to us about what's going on in Houston. We'll see. There's still some questionable body parts up in the air. OKC, obviously, we're going to be talking Moses Brown. Poku got unleashed. He looks awesome so far. Just a really interesting player. I'm not sure how much Poku you've watched or just super, super tall, super skinny. He's got a little Sean Bradley in him, at least physique wise. If you remember, are you old enough to remember Sean Bradley? I'm not sure.
Vaguely.
You old enough to remember Kenyon Martin? You know Kenyon Martin, right?
Yeah.
All right. You know that's his kid there, crushing from Houston.
I do realize that one of the many, many value plays we have today.
There you go. Give me your overview as far as this slate, because my general thought is it's really, really easy to get LeBron. I'm probably going to do it, but there's an argument to be made, probably just to hammer like the 7K and 8K and 9K stuff, and maybe go away from some of the value stuff that may be fool's gold. I'm not really sure. We have small sample size on some things, and of course, there's a lot of stuff out there left to be told because there's some questionable players as of right now. 6-12 on the East Coast. General thoughts as far as the slate before you kind of dive in. How are you attacking it?
I mean, it's definitely like I want to use some of the OKC value, like Moses Brown and Pokuševski.
Yeah,
it's so tough to I literally you ever just stand in the mirror and yell words? Try aluminum. Took me a while to do that. Pokuševski. I think I got it right there.
You ever hear a Brit somebody in Europe say aluminum? It's totally different.
Aluminium.
Something like that. Yeah, but go ahead.
I believe it's aluminium.
Yeah.
That's how they pronounce it there. But yeah, kind of using those two guys in my lineup and then building around it. There's other cheap guys that are very much in play that I'll probably end up using a decent amount of. But yeah, they need to play LeBron, which I think he's going to be one of the heavier owned guys on the slate. Him and SGA, which I guess isn't a terrible guy to throw in if you already have two OKC players in, is kind of the build that everyone's looking at. But yeah, I do think that the 6, the 7, the 8K range is very interesting. And obviously, I think the Capella injury news he hasn't been ruled out or in yet.
He's questionable, and also his backup is questionable too, which is pretty interesting as well. Because what we saw last game is a person I'd never heard of. This Knight character was crushing.
I'm like, when did they get Brandon Knight? Brandon Knight still plays?
Is that Brevin Knight? Brandon Knight? Is that Jordan Knight? Of course, famed New Kids on the Block, Jordan Knight. You knew that. You were a New Kids on the Block fan back in the day.
I can't sing anymore, else we'll get copyright infringement.
For multiple reasons, we're going to get strikes for that. But we'll have to stay tuned on it because Knight can become interesting. He's still, 3K on DK? And of course, newer side is Houston. They're still pretty thin. In theory, they could have 10 players. If Mccollum does go, they have 2 questionable in House. If we assume House and Mccollum in, I think they would have 10. And of course, if they don't, or if one, it's possibly 8 or 9 players. The price is certainly adjusted depending on where you're shopping. Kevin Porter is 7K on DK, but I don't know what FanDuel's doing. They're just kind of giving gifts. They moved Tony Bradley, who is the presumed starter tonight for Philadelphia, the center, to power forward on FanDuel, and they didn't move his price. He's 3.5K over there. And they also kept Martin at 3.5K on FanDuel too. And now it's one of those cases of there's so much value plays that even Martin, quote unquote, hits value. If he hits his 22 points, 21 points, but that might not be good enough for an optimal lineup because, again, there's only so much good stuff out there. And how much are you getting when you're actually, what is Martin getting you? But he's still super cheap over there. Of course, his value, I think, somewhat depends upon the availability of a Mccollum and or Daniel House as well. Do you have a favorite value play as of right now? And we'll talk about Moses Brown as well, too, which is going to be a fun conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's Moses Brown. He's been doing pretty well on a point-per-minute basis. He's getting minutes. I expect him to get minutes here regardless. So I think there's tons of safety in it, and there's a decent amount of upside, just the way the situation goes. Match versus Chicago. They've been doing some weird things with their lineups, but I think regardless, whatever they end up starting their lineup or whoever if Carter ends up coming off the bench again, like he'll still be in for a decent amount of minutes. And I think we got Keach in here.
Keach,
what's up, boys?
What's going on, dude? We're excited to have you because I've been delaying the conversation as long as possible as far as diving in with the cheapies tonight, because I wanted to wait for you, and I didn't really want to sit here and tell the people that Moses Brown is somebody you're supposed to play, but I guess that's kind of sort of where we're at. That's just we always talk about it in DFS. It's all about tonight and tonight only, and the nature of the slate. And with the guys out in OKC, we assume Moses Brown is a really, really strong play. How are you figuring out the minutes on the OKC side, I guess? And I guess Poku, you can bring into the conversation as well, too. And we still don't know about Dort. He's still questionable. We know there are several guys that are out, obviously. But, yeah, Moses Brown, how solid are those minutes? How confident you feel about it? I guess depends if Roby gets hot or something like that. Maybe he loses a few here and there. And then you got Poku. OKC they care about the future, right? Developing players, and Horford is resting because who cares? Talking about the Thunder.
So, yeah, I mean, that is what they should be concerned about. So we saw Moses Brown foul out in 24 minutes against Memphis the other day. So that kind of gave us somewhat of a baseline. I imagine he would have played a couple extra minutes had he not fouled out, but seems like this could be something that plagues him. So going any higher than 25, I feel like was kind of a little too dangerous. Like you said, you mentioned Roby. He is obviously another option there in that front court that, if he's playing well, could potentially steal some time there. But I think those two did actually run some time on the floor together, which is something that, we didn't really see like from Roby and Horford. Pogoshevsky, I hope I'm saying that right.
I think that's right.
Was
better than Grant.
He was phenomenal. Thank you. I appreciate that. He was phenomenal the other night, played 39 minutes.
Pokushevsky. Pokushevsky.
That's pretty much dead on.
Yeah, I listened to how it's pronounced for like 5 minutes last night.
They call him Poku for the record, but make it easier.
I think I had to do that. I remember doing that back when Giannis was brand new, and it took me like a month to figure out how to spell his last name. Still don't know how to spell this guy's last name, but he did play 39 minutes the other night, and I would imagine he plays, upwards of 30. Probably we have projected for 31 right now. Only 25 fantasy point projection at this point, but obviously we saw he does have a pretty nice ceiling, and he can kind of contribute in a lot of different ways. So I think in terms of like the front court options there, he's my favorite, but I do understand the upside appeal of Moses Brown. I mean, he's pretty much averaging 1.24 fantasy points per minute on the season. Obviously not really running with their first unit, guys like Shea that often, but still both those guys, Pokushevsky and Brown, I think are going to be pretty popular value targets. It doesn't look like Roby's going to be very popular. And I mean, if Brown's going to be what we anticipate, which is, a 57% projected ownership, I don't really hate that idea of kind of pivoting down to Roby. He had a pretty rough statistical game not a bad effort, but he had 9 turnovers, which kind of is making that box score look a little worse, as well as the fantasy output. So I don't really mind going in that direction in a tournament if you're trying to play the Moses Brown fade. There's, that's a very volatile situation. So I wouldn't be surprised if, he played 16 minutes, had 18 fantasy points. That wouldn't shock me by any means. Also wouldn't shock me if he played 28 and had like 40. So range of outcomes is all over the place.
Speaking of range of outcomes, I just pulled up the what if stuff here at RG, and like, what if Atlanta? So what if we get Capella out, and it looks like he's legitimately questionable, like there's a legit injury there. And what if Okongwu also sits as well too? Okongwu, how interesting does Nathan Knight become? Somebody who I don't know anything about. I just learned of his existence a couple days ago. Would he would all of a sudden get vaulted? I would assume to a fair amount of minutes. Gallinari probably gets a few more, like guy like Hill or Bogdanovich, but I don't know how much he would need to be justified and worth talking about. But how interesting does he become, or just in general, as far as that Atlanta situation?
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with Nathan Knight. We pretty much saw this situation. I mean, assuming if we're going under the assumption that Capella sits and Okongwu sits, saw Nathan Knight play 23 minutes in I guess you can call it a blowout, beat the Cavaliers by 18 points. It was a pretty solid production. I mean, he was shot 10 free throws in 23 minutes, 3 of 5 from the field, 16 points, 9 rebounds, couple blocks, couple steals. I'm not going back to that well tonight. Like, I imagine that we'll see the starters play more if this one stays a little bit more competitive. But yeah, I mean, John Collins, I like a lot more than I would with Capella active. He had a really strong game in only 31 minutes in that Cleveland matchup. And like you said, Gallo, he played 28 minutes in that game, probably would have been closer to the low 30s had that one stayed close. with Nathan Knight probably in that like 18-minute range rather than 23 he got. So I'm not going to the well there. I guess I could understand it if you're rolling out 150 lineups in large field tournaments, but not a direction I'm looking at. I do like, if we don't have Capella, though, I will be all over John Collins for sure.
Do you want to talk about the Houston situation as far as what's, potentially 8 to 10 bodies, right? Depending on the health of Mccollum and House and how that affects things. Obviously, it depends also where you're shopping too, because like DK not messing around. Porter's now 7K. But like, we're still looking at Martin being minimum priced on FanDuel. So do you have a read as far as if House or Mccollum are going to go and how that changes things?
Well, yeah. So yeah, I was just about to say that. So House is ruled out. So that kind of takes that one out of the equation. I don't think we've gotten anything on Mclemore yet. It's kind of hard for me to track this while I'm on the phone with you guys. But yeah, Christian Wood, Danul House are out. So won't have them. We have House projected for 28 minutes. Obviously, that happened like a second ago, so it's not updated on our end yet. But I do believe we actually might have an if-then situation up for Houston. Yeah, we do. So with House out, not really a huge change to the guys we're really thinking about rostering. KJ Martin would still get 27 minutes. Kevin Porter and Old Depot would get an extra minute or two apiece. We'd have Sterling Brown, I guess, is really the big winner there with a 30-minute projection. Patton at 26. And that's with Mclemore in with a 22-minute projection. So, yeah, I mean, I imagine, we'll see a lot of Old Depot, a lot of Kevin Porter. KJ Martin, I still think he's minimum price on FanDuel, I think, still, right? So that, yeah. I mean, which is crazy. But, with what he's going to play, I mean, it's really kind of hard to get away from him there. Sterling Brown, Jayshawn Tate. But yeah, they don't have many bodies, and pretty much all of them, minus, Anthony Lamb, Mason Jones, potentially Ben McLemore. I think all of the rest of these other 6 guys are all pretty strong targets.
Martin probably becomes the 6th man there. He's not starting. The official starting lineup just came out. Porter, Oladipo, Brown, Tate, and Patton for what it's worth. You got anything else, Grant? Anything for Keith? You want to show off any more words you can pronounce appropriately, or should we let him go and work on these projections?
Aluminium.
Do you know what he's saying?
How now, brown cow.
There we go.
He's saying aluminum as a British person, and he did not do it well, unfortunately. Keith, we appreciate your time. Thank you. We'll get you out of here. You got to get to work as far as adjusting some things, but there you go. That's Keith from our projection team. Oh, I do want to mention I saw Bobby in chat, our old friend Bobby in chat, and he took down a nice little winner last night. And I wanted to give a shout out to somebody, a member of the RG Discord. Well, he's in RG Discord all the time. Tweeted me today, last night. He took down the $4 and the $1 20 entry max over there at DK. At DK, that's Hutch Boy. So congratulations to Hutch Boy. That was 5 figures as well for him. And Grant, that's like one of those things you don't talk about enough. Discord, like it's a community of people just sitting there bouncing around ideas at all times. That's one of the perks you get, of course, here at RG. There are some free RG Discord channels, but less people are going to be lurking in the free channels as opposed to the premium. And Grant, possibly, maybe if somebody pings you, would they get a maybe get a response? I don't know. Does that happen?
I believe I've responded once or twice before.
All right. What else do we need to know about this slate? Oh, before we do that, let's knock this one out of the way as well too, so we can start digging into more. Oh, we should also mention chat. We haven't talked to the chat at all. What up, chat? Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, ask your questions. Myself and Grant will answer them. Devin, our producer, is compiling them regarding this slate or anything, whatever Grant has on his mind. Feel free to ask him whatever if we get beyond basketball and things like that. We only have so much time. But ask him about his man bun. I have more questions. I'm just suppressing them right now because we have to talk some DFS. But yeah, tell us what site it's on. DK, FanDuel. Hey, if you're playing on Supergraph, I'm sure Grant's playing there as well too. Or if you have a Monkey Knife Fight question, by all means, feel free to fire that too. Because hey, we have the Monkey Knife Fight promo that we want to talk about. Deposit bonus up to $50. Use the promo code Grinders, GRINDERS. Also, Grant, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. I was just told this before the show. It's Monkey Mania, the bracket for Monkey Knife Fight. They're giving away $2,500 in prizes, including free RG premium up to the first 25 people. This is actually on screen right now. Take a look. I think at worst, if you finish the top 25, you get 1 month free of RG premium. You finish like the top 2 or top 3, you get 3 months, whatever. That is all up there on the screen. Just log in there and create your Monkey Knife Fight account and go ahead and make some picks. I don't know anything about March Madness, but sometimes that's for the better. Like I'll pick my favorite mascot, and that's how you win these things. Sometimes you have a winner for the people, or you don't watch much college basketball. Grant? Oh
yeah,
boy.
I'm not even here.
Is it man bun season again? What's just happened? Good Lord. Grant. I mean, the amount of usage I'm saying right now as far as words, I feel like James Harden when everybody's out. Way too many words on my end. Hopefully we can get Grant back. I have no winners for the people, unfortunately. I'm sure. You know what? Scores and odds. I bet you scores and odds will steer in the right direction as far as some winners for March Madness. But yeah, do fire off some questions there in chat. I don't know. Devin, is Grant with me or is he not with me? Is he just like with his arms folded and like refuses to talk, or we can't communicate with him because his internet's pretty terrible? Well, that's unfortunate. What are you gonna do? Well, let's talk about DK. And Devin, feel free to, you can have a conversation with me as well too, because you're if not an expert, you're a quasi-expert because you're listening to us talking nonsense all day. But yeah, as far as the cheapies, I'm just pulling up our lineup HQ right now, and as far as the ownership stuff, Moses Brown just sort of makes everything work tonight. Under the assumption, always got to grab is 24, 25, 26 minutes, and that seems like a reasonable assumption, around a fantasy point minute guy. So that's what we've seen so far in a small sample. He's 3.5K on DK. I think you can make the conversation, make the argument on FanDuel, like where center actually isn't very good. So that's the argument to play Brown. But if he only puts up like 24 or 25, that maybe doesn't hit the optimal unless the guys that he makes work for you go off. Which I don't know how many guys are going to do that because we talked about it. Butler is 11K on FanDuel, and we're getting Bam Adebayo back, and he's playable, he's fine, but I don't know if I want to pay that, and I prefer LeBron. But ownership comes into the conversation as well too. And Lillard with McCollum back, and I'm sure McCollum's not going to play 35 minutes right out the gate, and they probably bring McCollum on when Lillard's off, and maybe he plays 25 minutes, and Lillard doesn't play 13 or 14 minutes, so maybe they only cross over for like 12 to 15. But there is a slight hit to the cap as far as Lillard, but I think he's still playable. I think I prefer SGA as far as dollar for dollar. But let's look at the cheapies here, Devin. I'm not sure if you're with me or not, but the cheapies on DK, we talk about Brown. Satoransky. Satoransky drew the start last game, and I presume he's going to draw a start once again. And again, he doesn't necessarily have to play 30 or 35 minutes. He's getting there in just a projection of 26 minutes. 3.6K on DK just seems too cheap for us. We talked about Poku. Poku's got an all-around game, man. He can board, he can hit threes. He's athletic. He can block shots. He can pass a little bit. It's fun to watch there. Nice matchup against Chicago as well, too. I talked about LeBron there against Minnesota. It is a back-to-back, but he didn't get fully extended last night because of the blowout. And, hey, we can go back to New York. Why not? Let's go back to New York. We talk about, quickly, I assume, is going to draw the start once again. Now, I guess it's kind of sort of somewhat worth noting. We saw last night that he was not necessarily going to close. They were going to close at Ntilikina, but Ntilikina actually fouled out. So he actually came back in the game about 3 minutes to go, give or take. But New York, Tibbs is still going to run his guys into the ground. Quickly's minutes maybe not as secure depending on how the game flow is going, but the price is still really good. So I think he's a solid play. I'm hearing some noises in my ear, Devin. Does that mean Grant's back? Hey,
yeah.
Grant.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck was happening, but I assume it's something to do with the blizzard that we just had.
Is that still going on, or is that there's still rummagings of is that?
I mean, there's still
right
2 feet of snow on the ground, so I don't know if it messed up something or if it's just my computer. But I reset, shouldn't have a problem.
Did you restart your router?
No, it might have been my computer. It's either my computer or the internet, but I have 170 megabits now per second.
Okay.
You don't know what that means.
No, I mean, it sounds like a lot. It's a lot of megabits.
That's
like,
a lot.
I mean, if you were trying to impress me, I wasn't like impressed. Like, oh wow, that's grand. I gotta move in. But
I normally have a full gig.
You had me at the man bun, to be honest. Yeah, Grant, your thoughts as far as New York? There's certain teams in the 7-game slate I'm kind of sort of throwing out. Portland, outside of Lillard, I have no interest. Feel free to stop me. Cleveland, I basically have no interest outside of maybe Nance on DK. I think it's a pretty good price at 4.7K. Everybody else is just kind of sort of meh. Who else was I throwing out? Like Utah, it's a general rule. If everybody's healthy for Utah, I just don't play anybody in Utah. Now, can Mitchell get a ceiling game? Of course. Can Gobert get a ceiling game? Of course. It's also the first game in the slate. I want to buy myself a half hour at a time. So I'm almost definitely, I'm going to be underweight on Utah and Boston as well. We don't have Thompson, but that's not a huge dent. And we saw like Time Lord Williams, his price is as high as it's been all season long. Tatum and Brown and Walker are all fine. Smart, I don't know how many more minutes he gets as opposed to last time they kind of brought him back slowly. But that game is just mostly meh for me. Yeah.
I like New York.
Oh, yeah, New York I like. Yeah, okay, tell me who you like in New York because I like it too.
I mean, Randall, I think, is one of the better pay-ups. He's not going to get nearly the ownership of LeBron. Realistically, he has a decent chance of outscoring LeBron. People might shy away from him on the second minute back-to-back going up against Philly, but obviously Philly is not the same defensive team without Embiid in there. Clint Capela's a game-time decision. That doesn't help me at all.
That's helpful.
Gosh. I think Barrett, like, depending on the site over on Superdraft, Barrett's a fantastic play, and it's always price dependent with him. I think over on Yahoo, he's a bit too cheap. He's been playing really well. He's been playing a bunch of minutes with all the guys out, so under the assumption that all those guys end up missing, which I'm kind of assuming that right now, he's a guy that's very much interesting. Quickly, I know he didn't do great last night. He didn't do terrible, but he still got 33 minutes of run. If we're giving that to him again, he put up 19 shot attempts in that time frame. He just didn't shoot well. He only made 6 shots, and he really didn't get any peripheral stats, which you're not really expecting him. That was on the very, very low end of stats with 2 rebounds, 2 assists, no stocks. So he's a guy that I definitely want to play a lot, especially over on Superdraft. Over on DK, he's good price there. So, like, I'm in for all 3 of those guys. And now Bullock, with all these other guys becoming great value plays, I think Bullock's going to go fairly overlooked, and not a ton of people are going to play him. He just put up 32 last night, and yes, he shot well. And yes, he ended up with 6 boards, which isn't fully normal for him, but he can still have a decent night playing a bunch of minutes. I think quickly being in that lineup helps him out a little bit. And so 12 shot attempts over the last 2 games. I'm waiting to see where ownership.
He's fully 3-point dependent. He's basically like Robinson on Miami. He's got to make his threes.
He's basically like Robinson on Miami. He's basically like Danny Green. There's a lot of guys like that, but it's a slate where it's mostly he doesn't grade out as one of the best plays, but on a spectrum of who can hit, who's going to hit, who's going to be owned, he's now more in play because of all the guys that are in play, because of all the injuries and all the cheap guys that are on the board. There is several outcomes where Bullock ends up outscoring a lot of these guys that were on the same price range. Satoransky, he could potentially outscore Moses. He can potentially outscore a few guys that are fairly cheap. So it's just about differentiating a little bit. And maybe you throw him in with a guy like Randall or a guy like Quickly, where he can get a few threes off of assists from them. There's a little bit of a positive correlation there.
How about Philadelphia? No Embiid. It's one of those things where we saw last night with Harden, and he was great, but he had the pepper in the box score. He did I think he had like 15, 15, and 15 or something, at least 15.
Who?
James Harden, do with the beard.
Oh
yeah. So Philadelphia is playing New York, and that's not a great matchup. They're a pretty good defensive team. They're also playing really, really slow, obviously, but there's no Embiid, a lot of uses to go around. Toby Harris is pretty fully priced. He's fine. Simmons, I think, is a pretty good play, more so on FanDuel than he is on DK, just kind of the way the construction works. I like him fine both places. And then Bradley, I presume Bradley draws the start. I presume it's Howard backing him up. We haven't really, we've seen multiple times where the starter doesn't necessarily close. So maybe whoever's playing best is going to close out of those 2. We've also seen more like neither one of them closes. We've also seen blowouts. So it's really hard to determine. They both played well in a per minute basis as far as Bradley and as far as Howard. And Bradley's just got a better price amongst the 2, so I prefer Bradley.
Yeah, we're not paying $6K for Howard.
Yeah,
at least on DK.
He's 5'2" on FanDuel, where a little more playable, but still hard to get excited about that. But more so in the conversation, TK just no chance for me. Bradley on FanDuel is 3.5, and he's 3.7 on DK, and that's where the DK build is going to put you in to play Brown and play Bradley, and then just have some fun. That's kind of what DK is telling you what to do. And I did run some optimals. Let me go ahead and check that out so I ran 130 optimals on DK, and of course,
why only 130?
If you want to get all technical, actually, I ran 134. I just put like an odd number for whatever reason. I don't know why. And I cap it at 70%. I am, yeah. I cap it at 70%. So no more than 70% per player. And only one player got to 70% because I want to get a diversification.
Just to sort of see. Moses Brown.
Yeah, Moses Brown was forced on me, and his projection is for, 27 points, which is maybe, even if that's a little bit ambitious, if he gets like 24, right?
I don't even think it's that ambitious.
I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't have a good read on it, to be honest, but I feel really strong that he's a good value play. And I think he's an interesting fade on FanDuel where he's more expensive and you can only play one center, which I think is a good conversation to have. The tricky part is center stinks. It's not there's no Jokic, there's no Embiid. I guess there's
you got Gobert. He put up 28 rebounds. That means it's probably going to happen again, right?
Well, that doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean he can't put up 18 and 19 or in 4 blocks. He can do something like that for sure. I see in the chat they said they're talking about Eric Johnson. He says Time Lord's good. He is good, but he's also the most expensive we've seen all season long. That's Williams. And the other part of him is they rarely extend him beyond 23, 24 minutes. He's a good stocks guy, but he's what 5'6" now on DK, and I think he's 6K on FanDuel, which again he's playable, but I'm not enthused about that. I'm
Yeah,
not
you're better
excited
off
about
playing
that.
him over on Yahoo at 16.
Hey, there's some questions that are being compiled here in chat. We'll bring Devin on in a second. And again, start firing up some questions. Myself and Grant, assuming his internet's good to go, we'll be answering for the next 15 minutes or so.
My internet is good to go, sir.
All right. Well, I don't want to make any, yeah. So just let us know. Fire up some questions. DK, FanDuel, let us know if it's for cash, for tournaments, yada, yada. Devin, how we doing? I feel like I've been talking this entire show. The people must be sick of my voice. Are you sick of it? I'm sorry.
I'm sick of it.
I feel physically ill right now, Dean.
Tell me how you really feel.
Before we hop in,
physically
Dean,
ill, but I had a gas station burrito today.
that's what's causing
Grant,
the internet
why would you
issues.
make such poor life choices? Why would you do that?
How's that a poor life choice? They're delicious. Have you ever had a 7-Eleven hot dog? They're fantastic.
Oh,
No,
God.
that's Grant. I mean, you can stand for a lot of things, but do not stand for the 7-Eleven
The
hot dog.
Jack and Cheese taquitos and the 7-Eleven chili cheese dog. Absolute culinary masterpieces.
Dean, can I get you to turn your camera back on for me?
Culinary. Is it not on? What just happened?
No.
Yeah, your camera's gone. Oh, I'm the one with technical issues. Sure.
Oh, okay. It says unable to start video. It
Good,
says you
I don't
can't
wanna
start
see
the
your
video
face.
because the host has stopped it. You've stopped my video, Devin. What's going on? You've had enough of my face too, not just my voice. Screw
Devin,
this
can we
guy's
put you on the
face.
screen instead of Dean?
Well,
This
I'm
whole
trying to
face
get it
sucks.
framed up right before we cut here. Dean, there you go.
I think I'm back. All right, there you go.
Try
Hey, there
one
I
more
am.
time for me.
Wait, I just did. We got to do it again?
Yeah, one more quick time, and then we'll get to questions.
Oh, my God. Devin, we're eating into your valuable time here. Are you sure this is a good way of delegating it?
There's some technical stuff going on behind the scenes, and it's perfect. Look at that. Everything's gravy now. All right. Well, let's
got
get to
some
some
questions
questions. We do. First one comes off from a friend of the show, Ducky, here. A rare, unironic question from Ducky. FanDuel, 2v2, Oladipo and Poku, or Edwards and Bradley?
That was GPP.
Yeah, we'll call that GPP.
I'm going probably the first one still.
Hey, can I just say, Cat, we should acknowledge its existence. And we talked about LeBron a couple times, and that's a good bring back. I know Edwards was mentioned in that question, and, he's been better of late. Also, the price is kind of sort of adjusted to it. But what are your thoughts on that, Grant? Like, if you're going to play LeBron, why not run it back with Cat? And, I mean, I know they're only 8-point dogs.
Edwards?
Well, I think it's center, especially on FanDuel. I think people are going to be playing Brown, and it's not like the math says that's the good math play.
If you're playing LeBron and you're playing Cat, you probably need Moses Brown in your lineup.
No, you don't. It's not that hard to do, man.
Good point.
There's a lot of cheap stuff out there. No, it's not. You can make it work. Tony Bradley's 3.5K on FanDuel. Martin's 3.5K on FanDuel. You're already there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like I still like Edward. I know he keeps getting price increase, and he's all the way up at 7.2, and he doesn't shoot well.
He's not good. Not yet.
He's good. He's just not a good shooter right now.
Yeah, I'm not saying eventually I think he's going to be a thing, but he's still raw. He's figuring it out.
Yeah, but I mean, he's still put up over 40 in 2 of the last 3 outings. Like, he has potential. He's putting up over 20 shots a game. He's only had 1 game of less than 20 shots in the last 8 games. So the volume is absolutely there. What we want is volume. He's putting up a lot from behind the arc. Like, if we're talking about GPP variance, I wouldn't use him in cash, but if we're talking about GPP variance, he probably has one of the higher ceilings on the slate if he gets hot from behind the arc. He's still a very, very athletic player, and he can get hot from behind the arc. We saw in the last game where he went 6 for 14. If he just has a good shooting night, which can absolutely happen, we've seen it multiple times before this season, just based purely on volume, he can end up crushing. So, I mean, I'm mostly playing over on Super Draft tonight, and he's got a high multiplier over there, and I'm playing using a lot of him. I know his price tag's up there for FanDuel, for Draftkings, probably a little bit low over on Yahoo. But he's definitely a guy that you should consider playing, especially on a night where everyone's going to be going stars and scrubs. So we talked about it a little bit before, the 6, the 7, the 8K range. There are guys that are going to go a little bit under-owned for what they've been doing recently, and the guys at the 10K range really aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing at that price tag.
I can't get over the way the back of your chair just looks like a stationary ponytail in your frame right now.
It was on a band named Stationary Ponytail.
Next one comes.
Grant has the look of a guy buying a hot dog from 7-Eleven. Does he
Oh
not?
gosh, I just
And
started
3
getting
taquitos because you get them cheaper if you buy 3.
just started getting over my sickness too. Appreciate that, Flo. Next one comes from Dean's Burner. Yahoo Cash. Rank Roby, Bradley, and Poku for us, Dean.
Oh, give me a second. I'm going to get back to him. I'm going to pull up my Yahoo rankings.
And while you're there, Grant, FanDuel tournament from K-Mac. Are you higher on Kuzma or Harrell?
Harrell by such a wide margin.
All right. Dean, you
what
ready?
were those three names, Devin?
Roby, Bradley, and Poku.
Right. So, okay. What's funny is that myself and Grant were the two people that did Yahoo today as far as our rankings. And power forward, Roby and Bradley. Roby's $13. Poku's is $12. I put Poku first. Grant put Roby first, and we inversed them. So we both have him first and second. And depending on who you trust, I had Poku first, and Grant has Roby second.
I was going to shoot in the dark and say, of course, they're going to be opposite rankings.
Yeah. And the third person was who now?
It was Roby, Bradley, and Poku.
Bradley's he's a center. That's why it's throwing me off. Yeah, Bradley's $10. And he's fine, but I think Moses Brown is a better play. They're both $10.
Guys, stress test for Top Shot coming soon.
What time?
I don't know. Site can't be reached. Now I'm opening the site. I don't know. Just I got alerts.
Wait, hold on. The site is down?
No.
No.
Never seen that before.
Stress test coming from a vacuum cleaner next door, it sounds like, too.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with people vacuum. You got to be clean. Vacuum.
They're just in beta, guys. Let's just relax.
Next one comes from Legit DK Tournaments. Thoughts on pairing Kira Lewis for value with Quickly and Sato?
Lewis is really ambitious, but I mean, it seems like he might be better than Bledsoe, but the minutes are really, really thin. Is the thought there? But it's ambitious, but that's one of those like large field, maybe. But he also might play 14 minutes.
All right. It's still the DK tournament for Donnie. Do you bring back Rubio and Edwards with LeBron to offset the LBJ ownership and to get off of Quickly?
That's your question.
I mean, I would still rather play Quickly. You don't necessarily have to bring it back. The game could end up staying close, but I don't think you need to bring it back with two players. Honestly, just bring it back with Edwards. It can take up a ton of the usage on that team. I think if you bring it back with either Cat or Edwards, you're probably good. I know LeBron's going to be very heavily owned, but like if you're trying to offset the LeBron ownership, go with Schroeder and go with Harrell. I think they're the better plays anyways in a vacuum just because of LeBron's high ownership.
The vacuum we just heard?
Yes.
There it is.
So we're playing nobody on Portland, right? Nobody on Portland outside of Lillard.
I think you can play Cantor.
Yeah.
Cantor's going up against Adams, former teammates.
So he's been losing and not even closing of late. Covington's been playing the 5. It might change a little bit because Adams is like a big boy with.
They have Adams. They have Zion. They're going to need a little bit extra height. I mean, Adams is. It's not like he's a great offensive threat. So if they throw Covington on Zion, which is a pretty decent spot for Covington to be in, they can throw Cantor at the 5 if Adams is going to close out.
We should also acknowledge like Zion and Ingram. They're good plays, right?
I like Zion a lot. Ingram's fine. I love Zion today. We haven't talked about him nearly enough.
Is CJ McCollum been announced on any sort of a minutes limit? If he is back?
I can't imagine he plays more than like 27 or 28. He's unplayable and he eats at everybody else, and they throw him all away except for Lillard.
Pretty hefty price tag for somebody just coming back.
Can't play him. Unplayable, in my opinion.
We already got to the Time Lord question for Eric, and just a reminder, everybody, hit that like button if we get to your question.
Dean, have you liked it today?
I have not. I feel like a weird person, like liking myself. It's just an odd. Yeah.
Dean, if you don't like you, who's gonna like you?
Yeah, you can. Dean, you should love yourself. That's the biggest thing I've been taught.
Yes.
You find someone to love by loving yourself.
Find somebody that loves
Grant. If only I had a man bun, then I could be persuaded.
Find yourself somebody that loves Grant as much as Grant loves Grant.
No one loves Grant.
I think I just stepped into a Stuart Smalley sketch right now, and I feel like I dated myself with that reference too. Does anybody know Stuart Smalley out there? Anybody on the show know Stuart Smalley? You're smart enough.
Crickets?
Stuart Smalley? Nothing? Really?
No one knows Stuart Smalley?
Oh, come on.
He's a fictional character performed by the satirist Al Franken.
Oh my god.
Well, somebody has Google.
Yeah. There's that clear 3-second window of Googling. Next one comes from Michael asking for DK tournaments. Rotogrinders has Mccollum projected pretty high, especially given he's been out for months. Any ideas minute projections? So we kind of just touched on that one.
I do remember Stuart Smalley. You're good enough?
It's a good question.
Smart enough? Doggone it. People like you.
There's a Michael Jordan was on that show, and he did that too. It's a famous clip from like years ago, but there you go.
We have him for basketball. 30 minutes on Draftkings.
I mean, even if he plays 30, I'm still not in.
Yeah,
it's a little ambitious for me. And it ruins everybody else. Lillard still
Right.
pushes the ceiling down a little bit, and it's also there's not a lot of stars in the slate, so I think you can still play Lillard, but dollar for dollar, give me Simmons, like that kind of thing. But go ahead.
Some good responses to your SNL reference now, based on everybody's
See?
guesses.
They know.
Mike wants to know DK Cash and the DK Optimal. Ingram and LeBron are the spends. I would rather play Simmons and Cat. Am I stupid?
No, you are not stupid.
All right. David Greer asked, do you expect Kira Lewis continue to get 20-plus minutes? You mentioned that was kind of a fringy play, right, Dean?
I don't know if I expect. He's on the way up and Bledsoe's on the way down, but it's always fickle there with Van Gundy.
And it's
So
March NBA DFS.
And you have like 10 other 3K guys. Like basically, if you're playing Lewis, you're expecting him to get 20-plus minutes, and you're expecting almost all the other 3K guys to fail.
It's thin. It's very thin. Can it happen? We didn't talk about Horton Tucker, who's a guy who had a pinch of last night, but not nearly enough. He's another guy who can become a thing. Now, he also closed that game, and he was amongst the 5 worst Lakers that are out there mopping up, and he got a double-double in the last minute. Like, he got a couple assists there as well. But there is some injuries on the Lakers side. There's no Caruso, and Horton Tucker's a guy that is aggressive when he's in the court, and he has the ball in his hands. He can distribute as well, too, and he's kind of sort of something interesting. There's also some blowout around here against Minnesota. So, I would play THT before, but as far as how thin or not thin that play is, I think Lewis is really thin. Can he get there? Yes, but less likely than most.
Next one comes from Travis. Wants to know, are there any viable lock targets on DraftKings, or is it pretty fluid building tonight?
I mean, Moses Brown is probably the closest to a lock that you're going to have. Like, just crushes on point, but pretty much he doesn't hit there if he gets into foul trouble. That's pretty much it, which I'm really not expecting him to get into foul trouble, at least enough for him not to get value. So it's Moses Brown.
K-Town asks, is Utah-Boston a good game stack for tournaments?
No. I mean, anything's a good game stack.
Is nobody playing it? Because I don't think I'm playing it. I don't want to say definitively, but the plan is not the plan.
I mean, the highest owned guy is Kemba at 9.7%.
Woo. This one comes from Steve. I got some other people asking for this question. Are we really playing KPJ at 7K on DK?
Yes.
Maybe. I'm not forcing it. If it happens organically, so be it. But he's probably going to have to play 35 minutes. 7K is a pretty steep price, but Atlanta, we're still not sure exactly what Atlanta is right now with the new coaching system there, McMillan. But I'm not certain. I don't know if he makes my build, to be honest. But I'm not going to say you can't play him. I mean,
11.8% projected on DK, and he's been pretty heavy chalk the past few days, right? Granted, the price increase, but
House is back, which I don't know how much that hits on him. Just another live body out there, but no Nwaba. So I think we still might have 9 or 8, right? Depending on if Mclemore plays, and McLemore's not a guy you have to give run to, right?
Depending on Mclemore, never would have thought of hinging on that.
That was the name of my emo band in high school.
I could see you being in the emo band.
Okay, just about a minute left of the show.
By the way, starting lineup for OKC is SGA, Maladon, Poku, Roby, and Brown. So there you go. That's pretty interesting. Kevin Love officially ruled out, as we expected. Lou Dort officially ruled out. So, yeah, we got Roby starting now. I was looking at that. I'm like, that looks different. Yeah, so Roby and Brown and Poku and SGA, and all of a sudden, OKC is going to be pretty interesting tonight. And also, side notes, we haven't talked about their opponent really at all tonight. Lou Dort is a really solid defender. Him not being there, slight bump to LaVine.
Definitely bump to LaVine.
Yeah, or even just the guards in general on the Chicago side. And Grant, give us one more take before we go. Of course, you're going to be on the show after us. Well, this is just your appetizer show. You're going to be on the premium show with Andy Means. Devin, I apologize. I'm just closing it out. I took the last question away from you. Hopefully, it wasn't a good one. But give us something to summarize this slate before you step aside and get out of here, Grant.
Jimmy Butler goes for 60, outscoring LeBron by 10.
Ooh. And before we close out, just so everybody knows, we do have that golf show coming back tonight it's going back on YouTube, so tune in, and we may be giving away some free premium. So...
Were you winking? You wouldn't make any false promises, right? You wouldn't just...
I was not winking, and I'll put both my hands on screen, no crossed fingers.
All right. Thank you, chat. Do like and subscribe, turn on notifications. We appreciate you asking us questions and making the show interactive. I think it's much more fun and much more helpful that way. Thanks to Grant and his terrible internet, but his awesome mullet or whatever he has going on back there. Why do they call it a mullet?
Man bun. It's kind of mullet-esque.
It's something like that, I suppose.
It's pretty darn flowy there in the back if you'd like to see.
Thanks to Devin
Wow.
for producing the show. Thank you for Monkey Knife Fight for sponsoring. We'll go ahead and drop that link in chat one more time for the people, as well as the $10 off your first month here at RG Premium. He was Grant. Maybe I'm pointing in the right direction. I don't really know. Our faces have been thrown around so many different times. He was Grant. He was Devin. I was Dean. This was basketball. We're out of here. Holler!